I have the power to ignore it. And so do you. You also have the power to ignore it. As far as things bothering you, you get to make that decision every single time. And this is something when I was a newer parent, a decade ago, because my son's 10 and in 5th grade. But I remember hearing one mom tell her son at the grocery store, you have the power to ignore it. I guess maybe something his sister was doing about, you have the power to ignore it. But they said, you have the power to ignore it. And I think for me, being age 30 at the time, and now I'm age 40, that's something I've probably in the back of my mind, I kept with me, and I thought, I have the power to ignore it. So by age 35, I got to the point where I openly realized and started talking about it. Like, being offended, being disrespected, someone hurting your feelings, that's always a choice. You get to decide whether someone offends you. That's always a choice. Of course, social media culture teaches different. Basically, you should be offended. Like, you gain better value as a human being if you're offended. In the real world, I know it doesn't actually work that way. Forget about social media. In the real world, you actually gain more respect and credibility by not letting things bother you, by accepting the fact of reality that you have the power to ignore it. Most things in life don't affect you personally. They don't actually hold any credibility for your happiness level unless you let them. So I mention regularly in my videos the 5 stones concept. What are the 5 things that you actually matter to you that are worth becoming emotional about or upset about to any degree? So, like, for example, for me, my faith in God, my marriage, me being a parent, my career, and me reaching my fitness goals and maintaining those. Those are things I'm willing to some degree, maybe have some emotional stake in. But for the most part, most things don't matter. I know that. I know it doesn't matter who's president. I know it doesn't matter who wins the Super Bowl. I know that whatever celebrity said whatever they said on Twitter, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. I have the power to ignore that. I had someone yesterday ask me, they said, Nick, what's your view on reality shows? My personal opinion is they're for people who have poor time management skills, because I'm not worried about what other people are doing in their lives, especially celebrities or whatever. Why would I care? All that is it's glorifying gossip, which often that's what news is. It's just gossip. It's not news, it's gossip. And it's clickbait. And we need to find out who got offended or whatnot. That's what it is. They're triggering people with gossip so that you ultimately pass judgment on other people. I don't need to have an opinion about most things. Let me say that again. I don't need to have an opinion about most things. Even if privately I do, there's really no reason to talk about it, because none of that is a concern to me. I have the power to ignore it. I know the 5 things I care about in life. Why am I going to devote time and energy, maybe even money, to those other things? That would be, again, poor time management, if nothing else. For the unknown amount of time we have to be alive, to worry about things that don't really affect us. But most people by default will put stock in those things that they shouldn't. If you haven't figured out what's in your top 5, I'll tell you a secret. Those things have already figured it out for you. The things that you spend the most time thinking about and worrying about and even celebrating. Well, what do you talk about? What do you think about? What do you spend the time doing? That's your top 5. It figured you out. And you have control over that. You can override that and kick this one out and say, no, you're not worth taking up that space in my life anymore. I'm putting this better thing for me in instead. But yeah, you have the power to ignore it. I have the power to ignore it. And I've learned, I've reached a higher satisfaction level in life now that I totally embrace most things don't actually matter. Most things don't actually affect me. I have the power to ignore most things. Your comments belong right here.